Panicked matchgoers flee the Stade de France, north of the French capital. This after a series of suicide bombings just outside the stadium, where a football friendly between France and Germany was being played. French President François Hollande was in attendance. Only minutes later, gunmen opened fire on several bars and restaurants in the 10th and 11th arrondissement of eastern Paris. In the same neighborhood, bloody scenes unfolded at the Bataclan Music Hall. At least 3 armed attackers killed 89 people who were attending a sold-out concert by the rock band Eagles of Death Metal. A standoff ensued as France's elite security forces stormed the venue. The terrorists each wore a suicide belt. One attacker was shot dead by police, and the siege ended as 2 others blew themselves up. The Islamic State group claimed responsibility for the attacks in revenge for French airstrikes in Syria. Hollande called them an act of war against France as he announced a state of emergency. He later said his country would not bow to terror.
The terrorists steal the lives of innocents, but they also want to suspend ours. So I say firmly that France will remain a country of freedom, of culture, an active, brave and dynamic country that never gives in to fear. Life must resume in full. What would our country be without its cafes, concerts, sporting events and museums?
In the days that followed, mourners gathered at the sites of the attacks, pausing to remember those lives lost. As the investigation moved into high gear, Paris's chief prosecutor claimed 3 coordinated teams were behind the worst violence on French soil since World War II. Police have so far carried out hundreds of raids across the country, but arrests were also made in Brussels, closing in on Molenbeek, a neighbourhood dubbed Belgium's Islamist pit stop, and where Friday's bloodbath may have been planned. In a further sign of the growing Belgian link, investigators said at least 3 getaway cars were hired there. Meanwhile, an arrest warrant was issued for Salah Abdeslam, the brother of one of the Paris suicide bombers. His exact role in the killings is unclear, but he's now Europe's most wanted fugitive. The investigation is also focusing on a Belgian citizen of Moroccan origin. Abdelhamid Abaoud reportedly spent time in Syria and is the alleged organizer of Friday's attacks. He's been linked to several recent terror cases in France and Belgium, including the failed attack aboard a Thalys train in August. As 3 days of national mourning was called, France fell silent on Monday, with the nation grinding to a halt to observe a minute of silence. But not even 48 hours later, the manhunt led police to an apartment in the northern Parisian suburb of Saint-Denis. 8 people were arrested and 2 others were killed in the raid, which shut down a terror unit that the Paris prosecutor said was ready to strike.